Story 1. I'm sure that would really bother me if I respected your opinion. Story 2. Why am I so fat, you ask? Well, it's because every time I fuck your mum, she gives me a biscuit. Story 3. I like to lean into it. For example, a coworker called me a sissy for wearing gloves. I replied, but I just had my nails done. When I made a mistake and my boss asked why he kept me around, I said, I candy. Story 4. Go nuclear on the first exchange. A recent divorce, a miscarriage, or a life-altering injury is a good place to start. Don't let up until tears are shed or blows are threatened. Wow, that's a fucked up thing to say. I can see why your wife left you. Geez, you're an awful person. Your child really dodged a bullet. Based on your intellect and your recent table saw accident, I give that insult half a thumbs up. Story 5. Raise an eyebrow, shrug, say something non-committal, and walk away. Story 6. Either try to imagine how little I care, or you have me confused with someone who gives a shit. Story 7. Smile with a little smirk and say nothing. Silence often speaks louder than words. Story 8. Okay. They usually freak the shit out when their insult does not land the way they intend. Story 9. Thank you for thinking about me. I never think about you. This will hurt them for days. Story 10. I stare with a neutral expression and slowly blink. I am not giving them the reaction they want. My calm stare makes them uncomfortable enough to walk away. Story 11. I prefer to stare at them intensely and say nothing. They are used to being reactive and don't seem to know what to do with silence. Story 12. Lady Astor. Winston, if I were your wife, I would put poison in your coffee. Churchill. Nancy, if I were your husband, I would drink it. Story 13. In order for any of what you have just said to have an effect, I would have to value you or your opinion first. Let go of that dream. Story 14. You sound like someone whose 2 remaining brain cells are competing for second place. Story 15. Look bemused. Say, what a terrible thing to say, and revert to the subject at hand. Story 16. Insult from a stranger. Reply in sign language, pretending to be deaf. From someone I know. Wow. Did you come up with that yourself? Hey, good job. That was almost a complete sentence. Tell me how you really feel. Story 17. Look at them with deep concern. I'm really good, but maybe I should talk to someone about that aggression. Story 18. This question really got me thinking, and I don't think I get insulted enough to have a go-to response. Story 19. It is interesting that you think that, given your situation. Story 20. I don't say this until I'm really ticked off, but fuck you and the horse you rode up on. Story 21. Their opinion. Better not to answer them back. Just keep walking and life keeps going. Story 22. When someone calls me an idiot, I reply that I'm the best idiot. This disarms them and lets them know I don't care what they think. Story 23. You sound as stupid as your uncle, Dad, when you say things like that. Story 24. People do not insult me. Most can tell it would not be in their best interest. Story 25. My dog loves me and I value his opinion more than yours. Story 26. It seems you are having a bad day because you feel the need to insult someone to raise your self-esteem and feed your ego. Story 27. There are so many levels of insults that it is hard to come up with an appropriate response without knowing how far below the belt the insult is. Besides, who is doing the insulting? A random person on the street, your mother-in-law, your boss, or your best friend. That changes the appropriate response. Story 28. Copy them in a mocking voice repeatedly, no matter what they say, for the next 30 minutes. Story 29. Usually when someone attempts to belittle or insult you, it is a projection or a grab for hierarchy, insecurity dressed up as wit. The best way to deal with it, in my experience, is to ask a calm, curious question like, was that meant to make me feel bad? Or, did you mean for that to come off that way? Or what was the goal of that comment? This usually snaps them out of their moment without the need to stoop to their level. Try it next time and you will see. Story 30. Ask, did you intend to insult me? Or, Did you intend to hurt my feelings? Then be quiet. Let the silence sit. It takes the focus off you and forces the other person to acknowledge the insult in a way that makes them look bad. Story 31. Are you an idiot? Are you trying to get this wrong? I guess I'll go fuck myself. People don't know how to respond to that. Story 32. I am a 75-year-old male. Usually something like, why? Thank you very much. Story 33. I ask them to speak up and repeat themselves, explaining that I have a hard time hearing out of one ear. Story 34. If it is a good one, I will congratulate them, and I mean it genuinely. Story 35. Please rate the insult and provide constructive criticism and tips on how to make it better. Story 36. Usually something mother-related. My friend Carlos said to me, Jess, only whores wear dresses like that. I replied, really? Because I borrowed it from your mom. Story 37. Fuck me? No thanks. I may be drunk, but I still have good taste. I'll get myself off. Story 38. Well, I don't care. You seem to be the only person here who does. Oh well. Story 39. Ignore it. If you give it too much thought, you are hurting yourself. Story 40. Yes, opposite gender reference. For example, a man being a dick, respond yes, ma'am to everything he says. Story 41. I have a notepad that I like to take out, write a note in, and then put away without a word. Story 42. I recently told a girl that she runs like a girl. Her response was, what's your excuse? Story 43. You seem to be under the impression that your opinion means something. Story 44. Oh, you think I'm a freak? Maybe try a mirror. Oh, sorry, I don't speak Karen. Story 45. I know you are, but what am I? Is classic. But have you ever tried congratulating your verbal bullies on an award-winning speech? Story 46. I know you are, but what am I? That is a personal favorite. I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. That is good too. Story 47. Absolutely nothing. You do not need to reply to an insult. Instead, respond with class. Story 48. An insult comes from those who feel powerless. They insult you because they are weak. Turn around, walk away, live your life, and do not lower yourself to their level. If you lower yourself, you only lose. If you do not, you are already a winner. Story 49. You are crazy. Thank you. By the way, you are not being original in saying that. Story 50. I like to tell an insulter that they lack anterior-posterior differentiation. Story 51. If someone insults my appearance, I reply, understood, dear makeup artist. If someone comments about my face, I reply, so you want me to be ashamed of my natural features? That is boring. You know what? Your level of intelligence is even lower than your skill at insulting. If someone says I am dumb, I reply, yes, I am. What are you going to do about it? If someone calls me mentally ill, I reply, that is not respectful. Please stop. If my parents are insulted, I reply, please show respect for my parents. I can extend the list as needed. Story 52. I pay someone for that. It works great for almost any insult. Story 53. It depends on the person. One time my mother tried to use a terrible insult against me. I told her, I didn't ask for your opinion. That started a big fight. I was glad to see her offended, but I regretted it afterward. Story 54. No expression on my face, just a totally indifferent aha. It is an effective way to let someone know they do not matter. You can be a real cunt with it too. Ice-cold indifference. Story 55. For some reason, people are upset by the phrase sounds like a you issue. Story 56. I look down my nose at them, say that's absurd, and immediately change the subject. Seriously, the user Ghost Counsel Karlov had a good response. I try it just so the insulter knows he did not succeed in pushing my buttons and is perhaps incapable of insulting me because he lacks the requisite wit. Story 57. I say what? As if I do not understand. I keep doing it until the other person feels ridiculous for repeating the same insult. It is pretty effective. Story 58. Oh, you want my comeback? Go scrape it off your mother's teeth. Story 59. A quick punch to the head. Nothing that cannot be resolved with a chin jab. Story 60. Indifference. A person trying to provoke you hates nothing more than being treated as if their opinion does not matter. Once you are secure in yourself, that opinion does not matter, because if someone is gunning for you, it means you are living rent-free in their head, which reflects more poorly on them. Story 61. Say you didn't hear them and ask them to repeat what they said. Story 62. That's very good. Did you think that up all by yourself? Story 63. Satan, is that you? You are doing the most today. Walk away calmly. Story 64. Just keep the same expression, look at them and go back to the task I am doing. It shuts them down every time, and everyone around them looks at them like they are a prick. Story 65. Nothing, but it depends on the context. Usually, silence annoys them. Story 66. That's just your opinion, man. Story 67. Sounds like you need to take a look in the mirror, friend. Story 68. Nothing at all. They can act like fools all they want. I will not stoop to their level. Story 69. It's impressive how you manage to stay so confident. Story 70. Imagine thinking that insults still work outside of elementary school. Grow up. Story 71. Okay. Give them the little girl with buck teeth side-eye meme. Story 72. Let me roll out the red carpet for my newest hater. Story 73. You know that super cheesy macho guy who says, "Nice shirt? Does that come in men's?" In a group setting, trying to be alpha. He'll say things like, "Mate, I think you come in men's enough for the both of us." Or, "Not as often as men come in you." It always gets a laugh and he gets defensive. Story 74. Ah, that's cute. You think I care about your opinion? Story 75. I am too intelligent to listen to your verbal diarrhea. I am at Harvard now, visiting from New York City for continuing education, and I have upset people with this. It has been my good Will Hunting, how do you like them apples? Moment several times. People here are very socially aware. Story 76. I wouldn't call this my favorite reply. My usual go-to is silence, and I often figure out what to say days or even weeks later. Story 77. Thank you for reminding me why some animal species choose to eat their young. Story 78. Keep talking. I am adding subtitles in my head for the people who care. Story 79. I like to respond by calling someone a fanny fucker. It really stops them in their tracks. Story 80. Last time someone was rude to me, I smirked and stared. Their confused expression made me laugh soon after. People do not mess with someone unpredictable. Story 81. It is a shame this subreddit does not allow memes. Whenever I read the line "I know you are, but what am I?" I always hear it in a Pee Wee Herman voice. Story 82. You are overestimating how highly I regard your opinion. Story 83. With an attitude and a face like that, oral sex from you would be considered rough anal sex. Story 84. My former partner called me some really nasty things. I smiled back and said cool. Story 85. Oh, okay. Where are you going with this? And then a right hook, of course. Story 86. If you want my comeback, you'll have to scrape it off your mother's teeth. Jimmy Carr. Story 87. It kind of depends on the situation or setting, but one approach is to look them squarely in the eyes, roll my eyes, say no, you are just not worth it in a calm voice, and walk away. My other approach is to ask, are you done, in a somewhat sinister and condescending tone. If they say yes, I continue with okay. Then our business here has been concluded, and I walk away or hang up. If they continue, I will not interrupt unless to ask if they are done. Both approaches really irritate the other person while leaving them unsatisfied. It does indeed require a great deal of self-discipline on my part not to go for their jugular, though. Story 88. I have always liked saying, "How did you expect that to make me feel?" Especially in a public setting. Story 89. I just stare at them, unblinking, with a little head tilt until they look away. It does not sound like much, but I am 4 feet 11 inches, and they hate that. Story 90. My days of not taking you seriously have definitely come to an end. Story 91. Think of the game telephone. Respond with an answer that does not match what they said. It will confuse them, and few people will repeat an insult. If they do repeat the insult, repeat your unrelated answer more loudly and ask if they heard you correctly. Story 92. Call them Han in a condescending tone. It works especially well when used by an older woman toward a younger man. Story 93. Saying thanks either very sarcastically or in an oddly happy voice after being insulted really confuses them. Story 94. Honestly, it depends on the context. In a work environment or anywhere it might affect your social standing. Reply as if you are genuinely confused and ask them to explain. Do not be aggressive. Appearing sincerely puzzled often turns the tables. At a bar or on vacation, respond playfully or walk away. Story 95. Hey, how about some respect? If the line were shorter, I would be your father. Story 96. I got a Redbubble pin that said, I will not hesitate to whack you with my cane. My favorite animal was me in survival mode after receiving an Ehlers-Danlos syndrome diagnosis in high school. Story 97. When someone says they heard something about me, I say, why don't you stick a dick in your ear? Because I don't care what you heard. Story 98. If anyone ever calls me a smartass or words to that effect, my go-to retort is everything is relative. It is a condescending reply, and it really annoys people when they hear it. Story 99. Being called a bitch and in total control of themselves. Story 100. Well, at least I did not vote for a known child molester and rapist. Story 101. If I were a cunt, you would be the first one up with your fiver. Story 102. If I wanted the opinion of an idiot, I would have called you sooner. Story 103. I do not generally respond to an insult unless I respect the person and what they are saying. It depends on the insult. They might be right. Some things are true. I need to clean my room, I break things, I am emotionally distant, and I am somewhat odd. I know the kind of person I am, and my ego is not particularly wounded, so I do not have much to prove. I trust the people who matter will discern the truth. I do not need everyone to like me, so I either do not react or I react assertively. When my dad kept making fun of my looks, I made him uncomfortable by saying many men are in love with me and that I think I look good enough. He stopped. He does not bother me anymore because I made him uncomfortable every time. Story 104. Just back up. Mind your business. That's all. Story 105. I'll just say the most unhinged, fucked up thing I can think of. For example, I'll wear you like a skin suit. Say it with a straight face, then after a few seconds smile brightly. Story 106. I am not going to engage in a battle of wits with an unarmed man. Story 107. None at all. I do not much care what people think of me except for a few. I am well aware I am not everyone's cup of tea. People who insult you want you to be insulted. For me, words have only the power I give them. If I do not accept the insult, no insult was given. I retain my power and do not give it up to someone who wants to use it to hurt or degrade me. Story 108. Them. I fucked your mom. Me. Oh, you are the Make-A-Wish kid. I have 2 dads. So did I. How were the sloppy seconds? That usually shuts them up online. Story 109. I can tell you are craving attention so much because your parents never loved you. Story 110. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of elderberries. Story 111. If I feel bored enough to respond, I would say your mom because it's hard to care about the opinion of some jerk. Story 112. I do not understand what you mean. Could you please explain it to me? Story 113. What did you say? I did not hear you. I said I am going to the store. What did you say? I did not hear you. I said I am going to the store. What did you say? I did not hear you. I said I am going to the store. What did you say? I did not hear you. I said I am going to the store. What did you say? I did not hear you. I said I am going to the store. What did you say? I did not hear you. I said I am going to the store. Enough. He sighs, turns away, and leaves. Story 114. Really? I don't think about you at all. Donald Draper Special. Story 115. Yeah, and it does not actually work most of the time and is way too sassy for me, but I also really like it. Story 116. From Gilmore Girls. Rory explains grammar to Shane, a girl she hates. Shane, thanks, that is fascinating. Rory, for you, how ice is made is probably fascinating. See you. I don't know, that caught me so off guard. Story 117. My 99-year-old granny would always say your breeding is showing. It still cracks me up. Story 118. Alternate your gaze between their forehead and their shoes while maintaining eye contact. This makes them angrier. Story 119. Simple. Look them dead in the eyes and just say yes, and watch them squirm. Honestly, it's the best. Story 120. To be honest, no insult bothers me. If someone insults me, I just say, okay, and leave. Why bother insulting them back or telling them that you do not care about their opinion? Story 121. My favorite is an old classic from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Your mama. When they try to reply, cut them off with your big fat granny. If they still try to reply, finish them off with your slap-happy grandpappy. It worked all the time in high school. Story 122. This shit is so full of Reddit copy-paste responses that I feel like I'm reading a normal post, minus the inane fight beforehand. Story 123. Silence. Put this person on my mental ignore list. Revenge may follow if the opportunity arises. Story 124. Thank you. I will give that the thought it deserves. Story 125. Gray rocking. I stare and slowly blink at them. One time the old tweaker I had as a supervisor, after the 1,000th pointless-ass chewing, threw his hands up in frustration and said, "Yelling at you is like yelling at a 4x4 fence post." Yes, Ricky, that's the idea. Story 126. I would insult you back, but I do not want to steal your hobby. Story 127. Tosser, your sister. I like matching elementary school vibes. Story 128. I usually agree with it wholeheartedly. It sucks the joy right out of them and leaves them speechless. You're a slut. Yes, I am. My mother was, my daughters are, and my granddaughters probably will be too. I mean, what are they going to say? Story 129. Nah, that's you. This all-purpose phrase demonstrates a certain nonchalance about what was said. It is short, somewhat playful, and can help defuse tension. Story 130. It depends on the insult. I usually make a joke in my comeback. One example. If someone said, "EW, you suck dick because you are gay," I would respond, "Yeah, I do, and I am quite good at it too. You jealous I am getting action and you are not." The comeback depends on the insult, but I always try to joke about it and take back power and control instead of letting them walk all over me. Story 131. Them. You are toxic and annoying. Me. You spelled exotic and anointed wrong. Story 132. What the fuck did you say to me? He said while moving toward them. Story 133. Well, thanks for your input. Sorry you feel that way. If you want to believe that, that is up to you. If you are trying to convince me that I am XYZ, I am sorry, but you are not going to get very far. When someone insults you, give your brain time to engage by using stock phrases. Choose phrases you can say to a 7-foot giant without fear of undue escalation. These are some of mine. Develop your own. Story 134. Huh? I did not catch that. Please repeat yourself. Story 135. Is that what you choose to focus on when there is everything else? Story 136. When told fuck you, I reply, oh please, you fall in love and I'd fall asleep. Story 137. Oh wait, where's my list? What list? My list of things I don't give a shit about. See, your opinion is right on top. Story 138. I want to shout out Wicked Part 1 for giving me this. Oh my god, you're right. I am insert negative trait, she said with a faux shocked face. Story 139. I defuse momentum by making fun of myself, then redirect it toward them in a ridiculous way. Story 140. Oh, come on. You can do better than that. Or even just say, thank you so much. I agree. Story 141. Do you feel better? I'm sorry you feel that way. We have a difference of opinion. Are you okay? Story 142. Yo mama jokes are dismissive and highly insulting, sending the insult straight back at the other person. They are a plus insults that people should appreciate more. Story 143. Stop deflecting your insecurities. People only act out when they are insecure, and you have been doing this a lot. Are you okay? Story 144. Person 1. Fuck you. Person 2. You wish. Story 145. Falling for lies is my cardio. Cupid is cancelled. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.